Hi, Scott Orlin with Cinema-Magazin. Okay, all you animation lovers, years ago you saw the movie The Croods and you were like, I want more. Your wish is complete. Croods 2 is here and I'm with the director of the movie, Joel Crawford. Joel, talk a little bit about sometimes they're very quick to jump on a sequel. This took a few more years. Was that in nurturing the right story?
I'd say definitely trying to find the right story to pick up where the first Croods left off was really important to the studio. There was a lot of factors that went into it being 7 years later, releasing the sequel. The studio was acquired by Universal, a few years ago. And I think at that point there was evaluating which story to go forward on. But definitely, I think for any sequel, the challenge is not just making another one, but justifying the reason for another one. I know the first movie was very beloved by fans worldwide, and I think I appreciate that the studio respected how much people love these characters and wanted to do it right. And so, yeah, it was fun to become a part of this over the last 3 years.
Let's talk a little bit about these characters because, with the Croods, there's kind of a nod to this is our origins. It's funny to watch these people navigate in a world without all the amenities. And without giving too much away, as your story goes, we start to see the progress of time. And they meet other people who have some amenities. And yet, do we miss the old? Or do we need to adapt to the new? I thought that was a very interesting theme you kind of delved into.
Well, yeah, I think, and Chris Anderson and Kirk D'Amico, who directed and wrote the first Croods, were the first ones to tap into where does the story go next? And for them, they kind of stated like, it's meeting another family is a great next step for the Croods. And that's where we picked up, where these stories are about not only the world changing, but also the family dynamics changing. And, it felt like it's a great opportunity to go, your definition of what a family is and what your philosophies on life are completely change when you come across another tribe, essentially that has a completely different view, especially one that this other family is a more evolved, more modern family that challenges the views of the entire Croods family.
But yet, even though we're in this prehistoric age, so to speak, there are kind of tips of the hat to modernism, that things that we today know and we can laugh at. Definitely.
And that was underneath all of, this movie is a ridiculous comedy, but underneath all of it, it's a story about human connection and how we need that, that human beings are pack animals. And, it's funny. I have this picture. I love the production designer painted this early on in the production. And for me, this sums up what this movie is about, which is the family is sleeping in this giant pile in this cold desert, but there's this warmth that's emanating from the Croods. And it's about the power of family and the power of connection. And we took that as the tent pole to go, like you're saying, there's the Croods have nothing at all but each other. And they come across another family who has tapped into the modern way of living. And they have all these kind of modern comforts and they have walls that protect them and incredibly safe place to live. But in living that way, have almost lost that familial connection with each other. And so that was underneath all of the story to go, we want people to feel, the appreciation for the power of family, especially in uncertain times.
There's the joke that David Fincher did. I don't know if it's a joke. I mean, he did 99 takes at one point when he was making The Social Network, because as a director, he was looking for that perfection. He needed to find that. In directing animation, I don't say you don't have the luxury, but of having all the elements in front of you at the same time, because it's kind of piecemealed. The artists do their thing, the voice talent does their thing, and then it all kind of has to marry in. What are the specific challenges then of directing an animated film as opposed to live action?
Yeah, just as you stated, like it's something. I've been on this movie for 3 years, so it's something over the course of 3 years that we've built from zero to now to being a completely finished, beautiful movie. And so you don't have a set and a script and you all shoot on the same day. You're doing that in increments over the years. And that is, I think, the most challenging part. It's because it takes so long, keeping your eye on the goal. This movie's about human connection. And, you know, one of the fun parts is the story kind of evolves and gets whittled into different shapes to kind of communicate that theme. But it's like, it's being open to the surprises that come along the way, but not losing our end goal that we started with.
But it's fascinating, if I can interject, with animation, I mean, with technology, 6 minutes goes by and there's new proprietary software, everything goes on. So I can only fathom during the course of 3 years how the technology changed or evolved while making this. What was the coolest thing that you got to utilize or aspect you got to utilize that helped you make this movie better?
That's a great question. And I'd say I'd even go back from when the first Croods came out. So going back, not just 3 years since I came on, but 7 years. Because I know Chris Sanders, after the first Croods, was even working on the Croods models with the technology at the time at the studio, going, we can get more appealing shapes. And so it's amazing just in the rig of the designs, what, like just the silhouettes you can get now. One of the coolest things, or here I'm gonna say two cool things, the previs process, which, you know, we storyboard the whole movie, and you can get a sense of, because of their drawings, almost like a comic book stage, you can get a sense of the character that's coming across in each scene. But years ago, when things would go to the next step of being put in the computer, being the 3D version of where the camera's at, where the model is, it's a very kind of rough version. And a lot of times they'd be like almost like a T-pose character. And the technology that our layout team, the previous team has now, they're able to match almost the expressions and things that are hand drawn. And so that is able to go to the next step, which communicates those little character aspects you love. And then when you get into animation, they find whole new kind of nuance, but you don't lose any kind of character ideas in the process. The second, actually just going to animation, you can tell there's so much I appreciate. But the second was in animation, it's you traditionally, like, you know, the models would be very rough, even though you're seeing the full animation fluid, you're not getting a sense of the lighting, of even the hair. And sometimes these story beats are so important that it's hard to go, okay, will that animation look right in the lighting? And now they can do a render that gives you, it's almost like a little preview of what the lighting will look like. So you're seeing things earlier. Technology definitely played a super important role in kind of stringing all the ideas together in the different departments.
This is going to air in Germany. And obviously when the German version comes out, there will be dubbed voices of the talent that it was in the US. And this happens in a lot of the movies. So they're not necessarily going to hear Nicolas Cage or Emma Stone or Ryan Reynolds. Yet when watching this movie, and maybe it's subliminal for me, I look at these characters, I see Nicolas Cage, I see elements of Emma Stone, and I see mannerisms of Ryan Reynolds. So how much have you fused the voice into the body of these animated characters?
That's a great question. And it's interesting because I know, like, already hearing, you know, in China, this they've seen the movie, you know, with their actors, you know, local actors who've dubbed it, and their response is that they love these characters. And so I think there's something that when we're generating like what the look of the characters will be, we're definitely pulling from two places. One is the actors, the excellent voice actors themselves. The other is we have these some of the best animators in the world, adding these nuances that not only fit Nick Cage but also Grug. They know Grug so well. But I got to say, our voice cast influenced so much of the story, of the comedy, of the like dynamic between each other. We improvise a lot with the whole cast. And I love that aspect because, especially in animation, when things can get kind of stale, working on something for 3 years, that as the voice cast comes in, there's coming up with lines and things that add an element of spontaneity to the scenes, which make it feel like it's organic and happening now. And so I feel like all those things like add up to make these characters incredibly specific and nuanced. And so when it's dubbed, you're not going to lose that. And it's you've got amazing actors that are going to do it in a different language. And so, yeah, it's so clear. I don't think you're going to lose it in translation.
And my last question for you, Joel, I don't know if you're aware, but there's a pandemic that's kind of happening all around the world. And you're one of the few, I don't even want to say the word guinea pigs, but you actually went out theatrical, where most people kind of said, I'm not going to do that. And while sadly you're not getting maybe the box office revenues you would if things were normal, how satisfied are you that at least in some parts around the world, there is a theatrical experience?
Oh, overall, I just want people to be able to see the movie, all the love, all the laughter we've put into it just from making the movie, because we had a lot of fun working on this, and I feel like people can experience that joy when they watch it. I want people to watch it however they can, but I got to say, in the theater, we've designed the movie for a big experience, and it's fantastic. We did the sound creation and mix up at Skywalker Ranch. The technology that's gone into the look of the picture and the talent, it looks amazing. And so I'm super excited that we were able to release here domestically and also internationally, that it'll be in theaters, because it's an amazing experience. And even just hearing some of the reactions from people who felt comfortable and safe to go to the theaters in the US, it's great. It sounds like people are really embracing the joy that comes from this film.
Well, I'm going to go out on a limb and say Croods 3 is going to have a full 3,000 theatrical release, and we're going to
and not take another 7 years.
No, not at all. Joel, congratulations. The movie, The Croods, Part 2. And this is Scott Orlin. Until next time.
Thank you so much, Scott.
Okay, and there we go. That was awesome. Thank you so much. It was, but I really just had such a treat and pleasure watching this movie.
That's awesome.
You never know what to expect, and you're in your living room, and it's funny, we're almost busier now than we were before, and you're kind of flipping through, and I went, oh my God, I'm just so entertained. And that's why I outreached and said, I want to do something on this. I really,
thank you.
This was just kind of out of the ordinary. It was just all these movies that are coming out just autonomously that deal with apocalypse, pandemics, diseases. These were made a year ago. No one knew. And you're like, I don't want to see that. And so this was just, okay, this was refreshing.
Well, that's what it's, we set out to make this Croods even more, I think, comedic and bright, tonally.